might be wondering, why are these two idiots wearing masks? Well, it's because our talk is not about us. We're not here to stroke our ego. It's not about who he is under the mask. It's not about who I am under the mask. It's not about you guys either. We're here to talk to you about the Belt and Road Initiative and urban exploration. I don't know if you guys have been reading the news recently this week, but this initiative, this policy, this development plan by China has been picking up speed. It's part of a Greater Bay plan in Hong Kong. They want to turn Hong Kong into like a mega city and combine it with Macau, Guangdong, Shenzhen, and they want to turn it into something, an area that can compete with the San Francisco Bay, which I guess some of you might be familiar with, or Tokyo Bay, which are big hubs, big business hubs, right? And so what does this have to do with urban exploration? Well, we are urban explorers. In Hong Kong, we've been exploring a lot of abandoned buildings, derelict structures, non-spaces that I like to call them, spaces in limbo around the city. So these could be construction sites that have been left abandoned for many years. Now, what does this have to do with the Belt and Road Initiative, which has also been called the 21st Century Silk Road? Well, basically, when we go into these structures, all this development, the Belt and Road Initiative, will change the city. It's transforming Hong Kong already. I'm sure many of you who've been in Hong Kong for more than 10 years have noticed a lot of changes, a lot of development. And what we've learned is that in order to look forward, you also need to look backwards. So we go into these old heritage buildings and explore them and document them.
It is then we begin to understand that not as Hong Kongers or as urban explorers, but rather as global citizens, that the path to facing the unknown future lies in confronting the past. We must face this unknown future with a dauntless resolve. We are HKURBEX, we explore abandoned structures, and we're here today to talk to you about wasted space.
So why is urban exploration important, and also in the context of Hong Kong? Well, basically, we reappropriate space. You know, in modern day society, there's a lot of spaces. We are not given control of our environments. Every day we're bombarded with advertising. A bus goes past, there's advertising. Corporate spaces are all around us, banks, shopping malls, especially in Hong Kong. But when we go into these abandoned spaces, suddenly we are in control of our environment. Suddenly it's silent. It's really peaceful, and it's almost like entering another world. I like to call it like we are like time travelers, if you like. We suddenly step back in time, and time is frozen. We go through a portal. And in these places, basically, there's a lot of history and heritage to be discovered. Now, you know there's a lot of abandoned buildings and villages. I'm sure some of you have been in abandoned buildings around Hong Kong. And I'd like to ask, just as a show of hands, who here has been in an abandoned building or an old heritage building in Hong Kong? Okay, quite a few. It's quite a cool experience, right? I mean, it feels a little bit apocalyptic, a little bit scary, a little bit spooky. But we've been in so many, and sometimes we are the last people to step foot in these buildings, these historical heritage buildings, before they get demolished. So we've taken it upon ourselves to document them and preserve them through documentation, through videos and photography, which is some of the photography you're seeing here. Now we've got a video to show you. This is one big 8-hectare site which has been wasted and is about to be demolished in Hong Kong. This place is known as Shaw Movie Town. Shaw Studios was very famous back in the day when Hong Kong was very well known for its cinema and film. And basically it was, at the time when it was operating, it was the biggest movie studios in the world. So what you're about to see is how this space has been wasted. And today, bear this in mind, it's about to be turned into a big residential complex instead of being preserved.
Today we're in the old Shaw Brothers studio. Originally built in 1961, it was the world's largest movie studio at the time. You know, here's where the golden age of Hong Kong cinema started. It was co-founder Sir Run Run Shaw who spearheaded all of it, and he of course passed away just last year at the age of 106.
邵爵士係 TVB 嘅其中一個創辦人啦。咁 咁佢對於無線電視嘅貢獻都非常之大嘅。喺80年代 TVB 係搬咗嚟呢度嘅邵氏片場嘅，但係喺呢度都依然都係見到好多佢哋嘅器材同埋道具都係留咗喺度嘅。
So we are right now in the back of a projector room in what was once the biggest movie studio in the world. Behind us you can see there is a screening room with dilapidated chairs, and here in front of you you can see some gorgeous Super Lumex projectors. It was almost destroyed to make way for housing and commercial redevelopment, but thankfully the Antiquities Advisory Board came in and they said that they're going to make it into a Grade 1 historical site. So for now, we have yet to see what's to become of all these beautiful historical artifacts, all these movie reels, all these gorgeous posters, all these old projectors. So we'll have to wait and see how they're going to preserve Movie Town.
So why is urban exploration so important in Hong Kong in particular? Well, we preserve these dead spaces by cataloguing them through photography, videography, and blogging. But we're in a constant race against time because heritage is under constant threat in the face of rapid expansion.
So why is land so scarce in Hong Kong? Why is it so valuable? It's because we only have 30% of the land in Hong Kong is usable. And this basically leads to people acting like a business. The government should be using this land to create public housing, should be using it to create public facilities because we have a housing problem, a housing crisis in Hong Kong. But I think it's more like a land management crisis. The government's actually acting like a business. It's a crony capitalism at play. You know, some people call Hong Kong like Hong Kong Inc., Hong Kong Incorporated, because it's run like a business. And yeah, it's just a shame.
Now, how does this affect Hong Kong? On a micro level, for example, the Hong Kong government has ordered that the remains of the deceased are to be exhumed and cremated after a 6-year period to make way for newcomers. Failing to do this will result in the government taking exactly these actions and placing all remains in a communal mass grave. On a macro level, China's 21st Century Silk Road Initiative will link China to Europe, across 3 continents and dozens of countries. This initiative will fundamentally change the way that the world functions, but more importantly, it will change Hong Kong forever. Here's another video of an undeveloped space. This prison island, for example, could be converted into a museum to commemorate an integral part of Hong Kong's contemporary history. So where does this leave Hong Kong? Is this globalization with a Chinese flavour? Is it a quest to shift the world's centre of gravity, or is it a new version of colonialism?
Now, as this Greater Bay development and the Silk Road, the 21st Silk Road, has been picking up speed, it's been quite controversial and been received with mixed responses around the globe. I'd like to give two interesting examples here of how China's been spreading its tentacles and what's been happening around the globe. Now, in Sri Lanka, there's a port, Hambantota Port in Sri Lanka, and basically they wanted to fund this port, and the Chinese government came in and they offered them a loan. Now, this loan they couldn't pay back. Sri Lanka is indebted to China. So what happened instead? The port is now in Chinese hands. They leased the port to China for 99 years, which coincidentally, as many of you might know, 99 years is the amount of time that Hong Kong was lent to the British. Another example is in Taiwan. El Salvador approached Taiwan, and they wanted to get funding and development for their port as well. But in the end, they broke down their relationship with Taiwan, and they moved a relationship with Beijing instead. And Beijing now has established relationships with them for, again, another port. Now, here's an interesting quote, which brings this back, all this context back to Hong Kong, what all this development is going to mean for Hong Kong with the Greater Bay Area, the thing I was talking about at the beginning. This quote is by Wu Chi-wai. If Hong Kong is dealing with the Bay Area development as a participant, not as a competitor with mainland cities, it will only be helping other cities progress while hurting its own long-term interests. What is he talking about here? Well, basically, we've got 70 million people in Guangdong, Macau, Shenzhen, Hong Kong. Hong Kong has 7 million people. We're already a powerhouse. We're very successful alone. But if we start merging with these other cities, will this diminish our influence? Will this diminish our power a little bit? For example, there's a droplet of water. This droplet is Hong Kong. It's very unique, it's distinctive, it's individual. You take this droplet, you put it into a bigger solution, and then it becomes diluted.
Which leads us to this. Hong Kong is becoming less Hong Kong, and it is becoming increasingly important for us to preserve our unique story. We understand, of course, that developments are necessary. What we're saying is that there needs to be a balance between preservation and legislation.
So we need positive community engagement, basically. What we're trying to say is this Belt and Road policy, this Greater Bay initiative for Hong Kong, it's not all going to be bad. It's going to be monumental success. In 10 years, 20 years, we're going to see huge buckets of money coming in. Everything's going to be rolling in. But what we are saying, we are urging people to think about the past, think about the heritage, think about history and what that means for future generations. So I urge all of you, please, enjoy, cherish, and support Hong Kong heritage before it's too late. We've been HKURBEX. Thank you.